It's happening again after an important Monday Night Football performance. The San Francisco 49ers look poised to make a run in the back half of the regular season. Yes, there are some questions about offensive consistency following tonight's game, but I think the defense answered enough questions tonight to where fans should be very excited about where this team can go, not just for the rest of the regular season, but beyond. Welcome back to Niners Digest. My name is Ethan Galbraith. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any Niners updates. We're going to give you everything we got, including the vibes after a huge Monday Night Football win. Niners 20, Panthers 9. Both teams had to have it. The Niners ended up getting it. A huge game for not just the morale of the team, but the standings as well. Now, you may not see that now because if you look at the standings, the Niners actually did not move after moving to 8-4, getting another big NFC win. They are still the last team in the playoffs currently. The Panthers fall to 6-6, and now the Niners have a 2-game lead over them and the tiebreaker, which could be important for potential wild card seeding. But it's just a huge morale booster after such up and down performances for the past month and a half of the season. Now, if you had told somebody how the Niners were going to win this game versus how they thought the Niners were going to win this game before it started, you'd probably get two different answers or predictions, myself included, because you start with the offensive performance, or dare I say, lack thereof. Brock Purdy did not have a good game. In fact, he had a pretty bad game. The box score doesn't even tell you the full story because all three of his interceptions were in the first half. A lot of it were forced throws, not the most accurate. We know Purdy likes to play downfield aggressive, and it just didn't pay off tonight. Only 193 yards as well, the one touchdown to Juwan Jennings. And yet, here the Niners are with a double-digit victory. We'll talk about how that happened in a little bit, but I want to assure people this. There's no cause for concern with this performance. Yes, he did not play well. Purdy himself will say he did not play well. But there should not be any calling for Mac Jones to replace him already. Remember, this is his second game back from a turf toe injury, an injury that is very serious. It's turf toe that retired 49ers legend Patrick Willis over a decade ago. So he's probably still recovering from it, whether that people will say it or not. Yes, he played well against the Cardinals last week, and this is a far cry from that, but this should not raise any red flags for the long term. But I wanted to also look at the running game because, yes, Purdy did not play well, and the running game was solid. It was workable. Christian McCaffrey had another 30-plus touch game. You'll see the rest of it in the next slide, but if you had told somebody last year that McCaffrey was going to play at this high usage rate, they would probably call you crazy because last year he didn't get the opportunity to even play in games because his body was so worn down from the Super Bowl run the year prior. The fact that he's this healthy again is such a good look. It's so promising for not just him, but the Niners as a whole. He had the touchdown as well, 24 carries for 89 yards. A little under 4 yards a carry is all right. It's workable. Brian Robinson Jr. should be getting more carries on this team, however. I understand the want to continue to give McCaffrey the football. He's playing like a borderline MVP candidate. But Brian Robinson Jr. should get more carries. There's no reason why he shouldn't get at least 10 carries a game. 7 for 40. He makes the most of it. And he also has a different running style from McCaffrey. Robinson Jr. runs angry. He wants to take your head off. That is a different running style than McCaffrey, and it forces defense to prepare for two different runners. I think that Shanahan should be using Robinson Jr. more, but it didn't cause an L tonight. So I think that we'll see if that change actually happens. The receiver room obviously wasn't great because Brock Purdy wasn't great. George Kittle being the number one receiver tonight, though, is such a good look, and it's so important for, of course, not just the box score, but the morale in the locker room, because George Kittle, of course, is one of the few leaders left that's still playing on this team after all the injuries. He was injured himself. He tore his hamstring, and yet he's back, and he's playing great. McCaffrey, again, there's 7 more catches. He leads the league in receptions now, which is, again, insane. Nobody a year ago probably would have believed you. Juwan Jennings had the opening drive touchdown, which was a huge trend setter. But I want to talk about George Kittle because George Kittle playing well is huge, like I said. And I think that down the stretch, we thought that this could be a possibility in this game because the Panthers aren't the best against tight ends and receiving yards, and he made him pay today. And I think that despite Brock Purdy playing so poorly, I think when a guy like George Kittle and a guy like Christian McCaffrey, your two best weapons, play this brand of football, it prevents the vibes from getting too low. And those who know George Kittle and follow him on and off the field, that knows that he likes to keep the good times rolling. He loves the game of football, and he showed it tonight. The offense played okay. Brock Purdy did not play well. It was the defense tonight. You watch this game, any highlights of it or the full game, you know that it was the defense that played lights out football, which is something that we didn't know as Niners fans we would be hearing from or seeing again about this defense. And I want to start with Bryce Young's stats, because all last week we heard about, and this week that we all heard about his impressive performance against the Falcons, and rightfully so. It was 400 plus yards. He played great against a battered Niners secondary and defense as a whole. He might put up good numbers again. That was not the case. Sub 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, and he was sacked. He did not put up those numbers. And why wouldn't he do that? Well, the Niners made a very important defensive change in this game. Robert Saleh, of course, as I mentioned in my last video, the Niners have a shortage in the linebacker room. Curtis Robinson obviously played great tonight. Actually, he was very solid. Nick Martin did get some reps in. He forced a fumble, which was also huge. Hopefully that's a springboard for more reps for him in this defense. But the Niners they opened up this game with a 4-2-5 defense, which usually they run 3 linebackers, historically speaking, under this with their linebackers. They didn't do that tonight, and so we predominantly saw Robinson and D. Winters, which proved to be just fine, because with 5 defensive backs out there, they were able to play lockdown defense against these receivers. And as well, if you look at the run game was serviceable for the Panthers, but they were playing catch-up the whole game. So they weren't even able to run the football a lot. They had over 5 yards a carry. Rico Dowdle had over 6 yards a carry, but they only ran the football 13 times. If they were up to them, they probably would have liked to run the football more because it was working for them. And yet they didn't get the chance to do it. They're playing catch-up the whole time despite poor or inconsistencies from the Niners offense. But there's a clear MVP in this game. It's not McCaffrey. It's not George Kittle. It's Jair Brown. Jair Brown, of course, a safety on the Niners defense. He was drafted a few years ago out of Penn State. Was supposed to be this next great defensive back to work alongside Talanoa Hufanga, learn under, at the time, Tashawn Gibson, but now Gibson and Hufanga are gone, and Jair Brown had never really taken that step to become that captain of the secondary with Diamador Lenore. Tonight, he did. Tonight was his best game in a Niners uniform. He had the 2 interceptions, which of course were huge, and he just was an anchor in that secondary. Of course, the Niners had the one big play they gave up to the touchdown pass to Tet McMillan. It was poor coverage from Renardo Green, but it just looked like a miscommunication on defense as well. But Jair Brown held it down for him, for that entire defense. And it was such a promising look for not just him, but the defense looking ahead for the rest of the regular season. Because with all of the injuries, especially to such important players, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner's replacement, Tatum Bethune, we didn't know what this defense, what it was capable of anymore. What was its ceiling? We knew its floor was going to be lower, but what was its ceiling? Now, I doubt the ceiling is not what it could have been with Fred Warner, of course, but the ceiling's higher than we thought. After some pretty inconsistent performances the past few weeks, giving up 42 points to the Rams, a record number of completions to Jacoby Brissett and the Cardinals, this was the type of performance that the Niners defense needed. Not just for all the outside questions, but for themselves. They wanted to prove to themselves that they still got it, and they definitely still do. I'd go as far as to say as this defense looks dangerous, because they're playing with house money at this point. They have new guys leading the charge out of necessity, and they're playing great football. They played great football tonight. Now, the next question is if they can string together a couple games like this together. They get their next opportunity 6 days from now on Sunday against the Cleveland Browns. Shedeur Sanders, it has been announced he will start that game. The defense has its opportunities. Now you just got to go and take them. Going down the stretch, you have important games at home as well against the Bears and the Seahawks. How are you going to play against them? Sam Darnold, especially, is being praised as a really great quarterback this year, but he has turnovers. Let's see if the defense can do that, just like how they did tonight. This game was huge. It's arguably the biggest win of the season, which is crazy to think about for a team that has had so many injuries and yet they're at 7 wins. You can put the huge win label on a bunch of different games, but this one was a big turning point Because as you go down the back half of the season, the last few games, you're still coming up on your bye week. You could have easily mailed it in. You're not in the playoffs guaranteed. But yet, with this defensive performance, I think that they're not going to. Well, they weren't going to anyways, of course, but now I don't know if they can. The Niners fans should show promise and have hope that this team can not only do well for the rest of the regular season, but do well in the postseason as well. We've seen the NFC juggernauts. The Niners have beaten one of them already. There's no reason why they can't do it again. Once they get into the playoffs, everybody's 0-0. My final thoughts are this. The defense looks great. We just want to wait and see if they can string together multiple games like this. And then we'll really start talking about who's the real NFC competitor in the field. And there's no reason to raise red flags about the offense. It was a bad game from Brock Purdy, but he's the multi-million-dollar man for a reason. He will improve. He will bounce back. He gets his first crack at it Sunday against the Browns. Myles Garrett, of course, is a menace, one of the best defensive players in football right now. The Niners will have issues with him, but they'll average out. They will play better in the coming games. So we'll keep you all posted on how they keep playing, as well as any updates inside and outside the locker room, because we know there's a lot of those recently. But for now, this is it for this episode of Niners Digest. Thank you again so much for watching. My name is Ethan Galbraith, and we will see you in the next episode.